a brand and building a strong brand for your business is so important. But that brand is only successful with the people that are within it.
Rue, start the show! I'm Beatrice, your badass branding strategy girl, and welcome to the Art of Branding Badassery podcast. Rue expects your best branding game. You don't want to miss out on 95% of your audience, do you? Let's freaking go. In today's episode, we explore the intersection between personal and business brands. What's the difference? What's the point? And we've got the brains behind Gambit Collective, a badass pay-as-you-go marketing agency, making marketing, social media, and personal branding accessible to everyone and revolutionizing, tongue's not working, the marketing agency game while she's at it. Hayley Westoby, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Likewise. Girl, you've gone from the Arctic circles of Norway to getting eyeballs when you lost 60 kilos to founding and kicking booty with Gambit Collective. Could you share a bit about your transformation and how it ties into where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've gone through 32 years in about 10 seconds. Yes. My physical transformation, I think, is where I, really kind of started to experiment with a platform. I started to kind of document and share my journey of weight loss through Instagram as a channel, and grew that channel very organically just by sharing my own story and what I was up to and what I was doing, and grew my audience that way. And I think there's, looking back on it now, I think there's a lot of synergies between health and fitness and branding and marketing. Like, there are a lot of analogies that we draw that are very similar. We always say, like, investing in something like LinkedIn or your personal brand, it's a long game. What we call, like, it's not a 6-week I beat the body shred. It is a, long-term lifestyle investment where you are committing to a longer term change and a longer term investment. So yeah, there's a lot of synergies between those two, but I think there's a lot of lessons that I learned as well growing my own platforms that I can now pass on to a lot of our clients, which is really exciting.
Heck yeah. So how do you find that transformation has played into your approach into branding in specific?
Yeah, look, I mean, I got asked recently actually on a panel I was on, that the woman hosting said that she kind of saw me as the type of woman that would wear, she didn't see me as the type of woman that would wear like a power suit, because she's like, I can't believe that you are a business owner. She's like, I kind of imagined like business owners looking like power suits, and she's just like, whereas you kind of come across very kind of casual and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I still love wearing a power suit, but I also can acknowledge that over the years in my life within the advertising and marketing industry, I definitely feel like I almost branded myself externally differently to fit in with, men that were, getting promotions above me, or, other women that didn't want to see other women do better than them. So I feel like looking back on my kind of transformation and seeing how it's taught me about branding, I feel like people can brand themselves in any different way. And I look back at my career, and there were certainly days and months and years that I would wear a blazer nonstop because I'm like, it shows that I'm professional and all of those things. And I think as I've kind of got to the part where I am now a business owner, one of the biggest things that I question is people's use of the word professional. Because for me, I do hundreds of workshops with massive organizations where they say, well, how do I create professional content? The first thing that I do is ask them to define what professional is. And it's quite funny to watch so many of them squirm when they are asked to define a word that is so freely used in today's society, that they go, oh, well, professional is like, looking the part and doing your job and like, bringing the highest standard. And I said, well, no, like, professionalism is actually just the art or the act of doing your job, your profession. It has nothing to do with your tone of
Exactly.
voice, has nothing to do with what you wear, has nothing to do with your nail color or your hair color. So I really challenge, especially leaders and traditional leaders, to rethink about the way in which they think about professional, because it comes back to that whole like knowledge gap, right? And it's the age old question where you go, "Cool, can you tell me how this pen works? This ballpoint pen?" People will be like, "Yeah, I can tell you how it works." You write, and the ink comes out. They're like, "Okay, but how does ink get from the inside of the pen to the ballpoint?" And no one can, like, very few people can tell you that. And it's that knowledge gap of we've just used this word professional for so many years that people are like, well, professional is, dressing in a suit and like not swearing and having a normal hair color. And I just think that, not only in 2023, but I think that over the last few years, since I have started my business, I've really kind of questioned people and questioned myself, and my team on what it is to be professional.
Girl, like I could not agree more. Like, if anybody's listening on the Spotify, I am just like vigorously nodding my head to all of this because, like I've spent years wearing like the whole suits, shirts, just to fit into that certain vibe, and now it's all about pushing back against that, and it's in everything that I show, and that's a whole personal vibe. So, based on your experience, what do you feel like that intersection is, or maybe the differences between personal and business brands or branding?
Yeah, look, I think that they can't exist without each other, to be honest with you, or they're not successful without each other. I think they can exist without each other, but I don't think that they are successful without each other. And I'll explain what I mean. I think a business brand is crucial to people being able to identify it, right? Like you look at some of the biggest brands in the world, Nike, Coca-Cola, Apple, they're all identifiable just with a single symbol or a single word or a single slogan, single set of colors. Pepsi ran a campaign over the last few years where they just used its colors and people knew that it was Pepsi. So a brand and building a strong brand for your business is so important. But that brand is only successful with the people that are within it. And what I mean by that is a lot of the clients that we work with are financial institutions, advertising agencies, consumer brands, B2B brands, and they're all sitting there being like, well, how can I, as a person, talk about my business or our business as an employee or as a founder? What they don't realize is that they don't need to be talking about what the business does in order for that business to thrive. They need to talk about what they do within that business or why they love what they do that will then translate into that business equity, right? So what I mean by that is I've got a team, right? We've got messages that go out on our brand channel, which talk about the work that we do, the services that we have. On our TikTok, we have a little bit more fun, but it's all business oriented. It's all about the work, the services, our clients. Now, what I choose to share on my own personal LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok is very different. It's about me. I like getting up before the sunrise. I like training in the morning. I like hanging out with my family and friends. I like going to nice places to eat. That's what you'll see on my Instagram. And then when it comes to LinkedIn, what I like to do is always make sure that I have one pillar within my strategy of what I'm sharing that is always talking about what I do for work. This isn't just your job title. It could be, you might be passionate about sustainability in the workforce or work from home or work life balance or anything like that within what you do for work. Now, with my LinkedIn strategy, I make sure that I post about the work thing, but then I also post about the things that make me me. And the reason why is because a lot of people get really pissed off when I say this, but anybody can really do what you do. Like, there is nobody in this world that is so unique that nobody else does what they do. Anyone can do your job. Anybody can do your job. The difference between you being successful in your job versus the next person is who you are. And so as cliche as it sounds, like your superpower is who you are. It's your individuality, it's your uniqueness. It's what you enjoy doing on the weekends. It's what you know, how you run your day. It's, you know, whether you have kids or not. Like that's your uniqueness. I think I explained this recently in a workshop that we were running, and it was for a financial institution. And they said, well, you know, I'm quite hesitant about talking anything about myself, but we can't talk about our products and services online. So what can I talk about? And I said to him, I said, cool, you've got a certain list of clients that you work with on a weekly basis, right? And he said, yes. I said, they're your clients, right? And they've chosen to work with you. And he said, yes. And I said, so what do you talk to them about on the phone? And he's like, oh, well, sometimes I'll pick up the phone and talk about the footy on the weekend, or I'll talk about taking my kids to ballet or whatever. I said, so start talking about that online, because that is who you are at work, right? No one goes into work and just talks about work because they would be really fucking boring.
Hell yeah.
So if you can go in and you're having a conversation with somebody, or someone always comes to you for something, that's what you can talk about. And so I think that the most important thing is a business brand can exist. And we do a lot of education around a business brand versus personal brand. A business brand can exist. Leveraging the personal brands within your business or your organization will only help fuel that business brand, and vice versa. Because then you can then use the personal brand content on your business page, and the business content can be used for people's personal page, but they just rewrite it in a way that better suits them. So you're reutilizing content all of the time. So I think that, you know, we always say like using a piece of content only once is like wearing a great outfit only once. Repurposing content is so important, because you're then leveraging all of these different channels. And instead of just having one brand voice in the market, you have 10 or 20 or 50 based on how many employees you have or members of the team, right? So it's like, I know what I would rather as a business owner. I would rather as many voices as I can in market, right? If I can have my voice, and I have my senior account manager's voice, and I have my copywriter's voice and my designer's voice, they're all offering different perspectives of business layered in with stuff that makes them uniquely them. But the business still serves a purpose, because no one is going to reach out to a business page. Someone is going to reach out to a personal page, right? People respond better to faces than they do logos. So having a personal brand is so important to really kind of grow and showcase the diversity of what that business is.
And that's success there. And thing is, you know, you mentioned as well that you've scaled 100% inbound businesses using social media and personal branding. Why do you think so many brands struggle to gain market presence and dominate in their niche? And what are business owners taking into account?
I would say, first and foremost, most likely they're either not doing anything because they don't know where to start, or they're doing something and they're doing something wrong because they've been given the wrong advice. And I see it all the time in our business. We regularly refer to the business as the orphanage, because for a large part of what we do is re-educating clients that have been burnt by freelancers or big agencies around what they should be doing. I had a call with a client a few weeks ago where he called me and he said, hey, I've just spoken to like a website business. They said that they can do a website for me for this amount, but I'll have to take a loan out to get it done. And I was like, absolutely not. I questioned him whether he needed a website at all. I questioned him why he needed a website with 10 pages, which is what the quote was. And I told him that if he was investing that much money in a website, what does he have proof that is going to be his return on that investment? Because quite honestly, you're not going to make money if you're in a 10K or a 15K debt, right? So for me, I think where businesses should start, I always talk about it, it's the minimum viable product. It's a term that we use in marketing all the time, especially with product-based businesses. Minimum viable product is talking about what is the minimum viable product that you can get out to market that is going to generate cash flow. And I'll give you an example. My business, when we started, was just me. It was just me figuring out what the fuck I was going to do. And so for me, I put it out on LinkedIn. It was free. I put it out on Instagram. It was free. I built a landing page for myself that was free, that had the bare minimum on it. How you can contact me, what I do, and that's it. Then as I've gained clients, as the cash flow within the business has increased, I've then reinvested that back into the business to grow it. And so I think in terms of when it comes to building a inbound business, A, they're not doing it right. B, they've had bad advice. Or C, they're not being consistent. And I think that consistency is the least sexy marketing tactic that exists in the world. And very similarly to weight loss or any health and fitness journey, consistency is the thing that will get you from A to B and B to C. Far too many people don't want to be consistent. Like when I lost weight, I had everybody under the sun messaging me being like, what exercise did you do? What diet did you go on? Is this exercise better than this exercise? And I said to them, I was like, no, I stuck to an exercise that I loved and that I fell in love with. I did a exercise program that I absolutely adored. I got out of bed every morning because I loved it. I ate the things that made me feel good and was conscious of what I didn't feel good eating. And it's the same as your marketing and your branding. If you're not consistent, you can't have a salad and then expect to have a six-pack the next day. So if you put one post out on LinkedIn, it's not going to change anything. But if you're putting a post out a week or 2 or 3 posts a week over the course of 12 weeks or 12 months, the consistency is what we see businesses lack most. And it's because they either don't have enough team to help them. It's because they don't know how to think that far ahead or plan that far ahead. A lot of businesses that we work with work in like fortnightly cycles where they're just trying to get from one thing to the next, which I can completely appreciate as a small business owner myself. And I think that for the most part, it's one of those things that it's just not sexy, right? Like it's not the silver bullet. Like you look at all of those fad diets that now exist or those fad workouts that, exist, 6-week Ibiza body shred, the carb-free diet, sugar-free diet, cut out lactose, like gluten-free diet, the Mediterranean diet. There's all these things, fasting. And they are all just masking or disguising or dressing up a calorie deficit, which is the fundamental crux to lose weight, right? And in the same way, branding, consistency is at the root of that. If you look at anybody that is successful on social media, they are consistent, and that is it. I was going to say consistently talking about the things that they're interested in or that they enjoy or that they're passionate about. That's all.
Hex, yeah. And that's the thing, where we're just all so used to having that immediate win, immediate like gratification. It's not going to take a week. It's not going to take a month. Most businesses, you really know, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the track, whether it's, it's actually going to hit or it's actually going to be successful, and you need to plan ahead for that. But in terms of standing out, what tips would you give to make personal and business brands stand out?
I think they're two different kettle of fish, right? I think that you've got your business brand first and foremost. It needs to, again, be consistent. The colors, all of the superficial stuff, colors, fonts, everything needs to be consistent. You can't have one post using a bright green and then the next post using a bright yellow if they're not your brand colors. So make sure that everything that you do, even if it's, captions on your stories, make them your brand colors too. So that's the first thing that I'd say is consistent kind of brand aesthetic. One of the biggest things we see with businesses coming to us is they don't have that consistent brand aesthetic, and that's their first thing that lets them down. So what I would also add to that is that you don't have to invest $30,000 for a brand guideline for your business. Like we do a simple brand guideline on a page, which is what I started my business with. and it is your logos, fonts, colors on one page, and it's around the 5 to 10 grand mark for the full suite if we're designing logos and everything like that, right? So you don't have to invest $30,000 to $50,000 on a full 30-page brand guideline that nobody is going to look at. You be consistent with your branding once you've got that, consistent with your posting and how often you're posting. I'd also say choose your channel really wisely. Don't post on every channel just because everybody is on every channel. Post where your audience are going to be, and that's from a business brand point of view and a personal brand point of view. And then lastly, I'd get really kind of structured with your strategy. And again, strategy is just a really fancy word for a plan, right? I think so many people go, oh, strategy, like I'm not paying thousands of dollars. And I'm like, it's pretty much just a plan. So I would say with both your business brand and your personal brand, really make sure that you've got 3 core pillars that you are talking to in every piece of content. Now, these 3 core pillars is what we help each of our clients within the workshops that we run. We help them ascertain what those pillars are, right? But I'll give you an example. My business, my 3 core pillars are what we do, our people, and how we can help, right? What we do, it talks about our services, it talks about the fundamentals of the products that we deliver, blah, blah, blah. Who we are focuses on the people behind the work, our clients, and then how we can help is case studies, social proof of things, of what we've done, who we've helped, but also sharing tips, tricks, hacks to help people that might not be at the stage to commit to a budget or, working with an agency. So that's my business. My personal brand on LinkedIn, I talk about personal branding, no brainer. I talk about my own journey as a business owner. And then I talk about making marketing accessible. Now, I talk about those 3 things for a reason. Personal branding, obvious. I'm in the space of people branding themselves. And so talking about personal branding is a really great way to help other people get better at what they're doing. 2, I talk about my story as a business owner for 2 reasons. 1, because I think that not enough people share the highs and lows of running a business. And 2, because the types of people that I want to be talking to are other business owners. So if I share a story of my business owner flaw or win or loss, another business owner might resonate with it, and then we can connect. And they're the types of people that I want to be talking to. And lastly, my making marketing accessible. That's where I just share, again, tips, hacks, how to help people. I share campaigns that I've loved. I share pieces of copywriting that I love. I share great pieces of work, all of those things, because I think that all of those things shouldn't be something that you access just by working with an agency. It should be something that is available to everybody.
There's one question that I ask everyone that comes on this podcast, and that is, what is the biggest societal norm that you want to push back on and teach others about in general?
I think for me right now, a societal norm that I love pushing back on is drinking. I don't drink and I've stopped drinking. And the reason I stopped drinking is I'm very open about my mental health journey. I've struggled with anxiety for the last few years. And anyone that I tell when I'm like, I used to, have a big night out or a big lunch or whatever, I'd have a few drinks and then I'd wake up the next morning and my anxiety was at an all-time high. And people that I would talk to would be like, yeah, but that's just what you expect with like a big night out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like you kind of, it's part and parcel, right? Like it's one comes with the other. You're expecting it. But then I started getting that anxiety after like a wine at lunch, just one. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me. So I decided to stop drinking altogether. And I actually would argue, like, people are like, oh, how's it been? And I'm like, honestly, I don't feel like it's an issue or difficult now. But I would argue for the most part, it would be harder to be a non-drinker in Australia than it is to be a woman. Because alcohol, especially in the marketing and advertising industry, everything is revolved around it. Let's catch up for a coffee or a wine. All the Christmas parties are around pubs or restaurants where you can have a boozy lunch. Like, everything is around alcohol. So for me, choosing not to drink is something that I'm really, really firm on for myself because I know the value that it adds to my life and my days. But having to explain it to people, or people expecting me to have some kind of traumatic alcohol experience, which is why I've given it up, is something that I want to start pushing back on. Like, I'd love to normalize people not drinking and it be okay, because one thing that I say all the time is that alcohol is the only drug that you are the problem if you don't do it. Yeah. And that's something that I would love to see normalized.
Heck yeah, I love that. And yeah, growing up in Australia, I definitely remember that. And even other countries, the first question is always, "Oh, but why? Just one drink."
Yeah, I think there's a big thing with that then, I think, because when I stopped drinking, I changed the "I'm not drinking" to "I don't drink," and it stops the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fully.
I've heard that one as well. Thank you again for joining, Hayley. How can people reach you?
I am pretty much on every social channel. My main channels are LinkedIn, which is just Hayley Westoby, Instagram, Hayley Westoby, TikTok, Hayley Westoby, or you can look up our business and follow us on TikTok, LinkedIn, and Instagram under Gambit.collective.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. And those details will also be in the episode description. And drop any questions you like answered about this show in the comments. And of course, stay badass.